All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Fletcher from Quixote Consulting. I'm the founder of Quixote Consulting. And so great to have so many people already chiming in on chat where you're from. And this is a slice of one of our virtual trainings. We do a more in-depth interactive virtual training with groups called How to Work from Home. And in light of what's going on, figured let's put together 30 minutes, quick hitting, things that are really going to be most helpful and most important for you right now. So I'm really hoping that you get something out of this that really helps you and helps the people around you for this time. This is what I have to offer for you. So this is one of 4 webinars. We're going to be doing one every week this month on Thursday, same time. And so it's helpful to think about an answer to 2 questions. What are the challenges and what are the opportunities that you have working from home? And most of us are focusing on the challenges. And so I'm inviting you to look at both of those things, if you will. So look at both the challenges and look at both the opportunities. So we're going to look at them. And before that, here's a reminder, if you have any questions during this webinar, feel free to put any questions at any time in chat. So anytime, just put them right in there. I won't be answering the questions though until the end. And I'm going to formally end right on time, 1:30 East Coast time. You can do the translation for wherever you are in the world. And then I'll happy to stay on beyond that and keep answering questions as they come in. For a little while, spend a little extra time. So if you have extra time, feel free to stay on, but we'll do the bulk of the material going to 1:30, just under a half hour from now. So let's look at what I think of as the top 10 challenges and keep your top #1 challenge in mind. So the first is home related. And this is not clip art or anything like that. This is my teammate Margaret's cat named Kitty. And this is what she does, unbidden sometimes. So you've got challenges at home. But the #1 challenge that people report statistically is unplugging after working hours. The #1 is #1. The rest of these are in no particular order, more or less. But the first one is unplugging after working hours. So this is, I hope that you can think about this for yourself. How can you unplug? We're going to give you some ideas around that. The next is gaps and boundaries. And what that means is when you had a commute, you had a gap. You had a natural gap between work and between home. And you could decompress or get yourself ready. You could listen to music. You could listen to an audiobook, podcast, whatever. And those gaps are gone. And the boundaries are gone between home and work life. And you'll also notice this sense of isolation that so many of us have now, especially with social distancing and sheltering in place. And then, of course, there's the home life distractions. Home still is home, and everything you need to do at home is still there. And work-life balance. And work life is happening often at the same time. You work more hours at home. And what that means is the data shows that people spend, I think it's a couple of 3 to 4 hours more every week working from home. It's just what we do. We don't do it on purpose for any special reason. And then now we have some team challenges. So the first one is something I'll call copy and paste. Copy and paste is, I've got my work life at the office. I have to work from home, or I'm going to work from home. I'll just try to do everything exactly the way I do it. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it into home life. Does not work. Things are going to need to change. And inefficiencies in terms of communicating with each other. And there's a steep learning curve. You've got all this tech to learn. And the webinars and other trainings that I've been doing recently, it's a common theme that people are like, how do I do this on Zoom? How do I do this on GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, whatever it might be? So what is your biggest challenge? Write it in chat right now. You can, anything, whatever your biggest challenge is, you can put it in there and take a look and get a sense of where people are at, what other people just like you are having, what their challenge is. Now let's look at opportunities. And there's a quote from JFK that I think is super helpful. And this cat that is a challenge is also wonderful. You have work and you have cats. What's not to like about that? It's awesome. You know, there's people try to bring pets to work day and things like that. And now you don't need to. You can just bring your cat with you into your office wherever you are. So the number one opportunity, even though it's also a challenge, is that you have an unparalleled ability now to tweak your day, to change things, to make things, to get the balance right the way you want it to be. When you are in an office and your time is not completely your own, visually even, you've got to be doing certain things. You have a much better chance at focus. Even if focus can be a challenge from working from home, you have less in-person meetings, you have less in-person drop-ins, you have less stress. And what that means is the number one most dangerous thing that we do so far is commute. That is the most dangerous thing that we do. So you automatically have less stress with no commute. You have some flexible freedom. You have a chance to follow your unique work rhythm. What that means is you have a point in your day that is your high point, and you have a point in your day that is your low point. This is your best chance at putting that into play. And you will also have an opportunity to get some deep work done. And looking at what is most important and finding a time to sync it up with your natural high of rhythm. And even though it's a steep learning curve, whatever investment you do in learning Zoom or learning GoToMeeting or learning Microsoft Teams or whatever your team uses, whatever you have, whatever investment you do, it's going to keep paying dividends. There's some goodwill right now with each other on the teams because this is all new to people. That goodwill is not going to be here a month from now if you're still spending 5 to 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of a meeting trying to figure out the tech. And you also have an opportunity for closer family connections. Even if you're driving each other crazy right now, that's fine. You have a chance now at connecting. This is what it's like to be close to each other. And you have an opportunity to lead your team in a new way. And this, I would invite you to think of looking at what you do and finding what's a way that I can show the way, that I can lead the way from where I am. So again, try your chat out, put your biggest opportunities working from home, check out what other people are putting in there. And here's my invitation for everything I say. Everything I say for these are tips. They are not rules, because I've read so many articles about stuff like this and people say, oh, definitely don't ever use your laptop. Hey, I have used my laptop exclusively for almost 20 years now, and all is well. So it doesn't, you got to find your own way. Try what I say, try the opposite of it, learn from it, and pick what you want from there. So home office setup. First, we're going to talk about location. Most important. And this is ideal. Think about anything I say as ideally you would have ... So you may not be able to do this in your place, but whatever you can do, if this is available, make sure it happens. You need a dedicated space where you can close the door and leave your workout. That is the ideal. Please don't put it where you sleep, relax, or eat. Let those spaces be where you sleep, or where you relax, or where you eat, if at all possible. The dining room table might be the only option available. Uncluttered with other non-work stuff, so don't have the unfolded laundry next to your desk in that room, for example. It'd be nice to have a view, even if it's a picture you put up. I love the view from my studio here. It's woods. It's great. So you get a chance for that. If you have a better view, if you're in a cubicle at work, you definitely have a better view because you probably have a window now. So even if it's a picture you put up, get a view. And experiment. Try moving around your office until you find the right spot. And then think about, is there a way that I could have a different spot in the morning or a different spot in the afternoon? On sunny days, I'll work the most of the morning on the couch. And then in the afternoons, I'll move myself into the studio because the sun goes in there and I love being around the sun. Also contemplate working outside. There have been a couple of warm days where I've been able to do a little bit of work outside, but we are, by the end of this month, we're going to have some time. We're going to be able to work outside. The next is thinking about the actual hardware, if you will. Think about your desk, think about different options for that. What can you put into play? One of my favorite things that people don't often use is something called a Fit Desk bicycle. It's super small, it folds up, you can roll it into different rooms, and it's not ideal for working on a laptop, but you can put your papers on there, you can write notes on things like that, and so it's a great way to also get a little exercise, which we're going to talk about later. Think about your chair, make sure it's adjustable, make sure it's good quality, and then laptop, yes or no. Is the laptop working for you or is it not going to work for you? I would say the things against a laptop that people often say is you got to be really careful with your wrist positioning and where it is. One thing to do if you do use a laptop is put it in your lap and not on a table so that your wrists are not above your elbows. And then think about a monitor. And lots of people are using second screens. I have not experimented with that, but I've been reading the research and they say productivity goes up 20 to 30% if you have a second screen. And then keyboard, think about, make sure it's ergonomic. Think about potentially wireless. And then we're going to talk about AV. We'll spend more time on this in 3 weeks from now when we're doing the virtual presentation webinar, and that's going to go more in depth. But the number one thing that you can get or use if you have already is a noise canceling headset. It is super helpful if you have home life, if you have kids, if you have dogs, if the washing machine is going or anything like that, you can cancel it out. Noise canceling is only one way. So it's not like you are canceling the background noise if people are yelling in the background and you're like, oh, well, the people on this meeting won't hear it. They're going to hear it. So just make sure you have a noise canceling headset. Also consider a USB microphone, something that depending on the microphone on your computer or your laptop, you'll potentially decide. But if you don't have a noise canceling headset, get one. Tech, get the fastest broadband you can get. And I have a friend who works at Verizon and he said they're making money hand over fist. And I can imagine why. Everybody's upping the broadband at home. Test and retest your tech before any virtual interaction. I try to model this. Margaret and I have been on these Zoom meetings pretty much every morning this week, 9 a.m., trying it out, trying the different functions out, making sure. And you'll also notice that the meeting started 10 minutes earlier than it's supposed to start, which is also a helpful thing to do. Get to know the tech. It's not going anywhere. Someday we are going to be able to go back to the office, but a lot of us are never going to go back because we're going to end up liking it. Companies are going to realize how much money they're going to save by not having, renting less real estate. It's going to be, this is the way it's going. I've been doing virtual team trainings for 15 years, I think, and have moved with the tech. But one thing is one thing that has been a constant is that it just keeps increasing. Just more and more people are part of virtual teams. Here's a little bonus tip. Connect your laptop to your big screen TV to monitor meetings, especially webinars. Productivity and scheduling. Here's some things to think about for you when you are trying to get some stuff done. Focus on results, not tasks. This is a really helpful one, has been a helpful one for me. So instead of a to-do list, I write on the top of the page results. And what do I want the results to be of this day? And that helps cull things out of, oh, well, answer this email and answer that email. Something has to get moved. So it's important to think in terms of results and not tasks. Focus means getting rid of distractions. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. And you have a rhythm. You have a high and you have a low. It's important to find out when and where that is. So my rhythm is morning to mid-morning. I am the very, very high energy. And then by 1:32 p.m., I'm crashing. I need to not be working on something that is super important. Then match the deep work with the peak energy time. So for example, not everybody has this luxury, but the best days of me working are when I'm able to, when I turn my Wi-Fi off, when I put do not disturb on my phone, and I get some work done in the morning and I turn it all back on in the afternoon. So your work schedule, here are some hints. If you are floundering a little bit, trying to figure out, well, how do I get a work schedule? Keep it as steady as you can. And the flip side of that is it's going to change. It's going to change with family needs. It's going to change with figuring out with your partner who is doing what and where. And then it also is going to change based on your team needs and their family needs. It's going to be changed. So be flexible. And then be flexible based on your teammates' working schedules. And then last is play with your freedom. So you can keep it steady. Let's get it started. Okay, I work 9 to 5 in the office. That's the time that I usually work. I'm going to work 9 to 5 at home. What happens if you start when you wake up? You wake up at 6:30 in the morning. Say, okay, I'll go 7 to 3. Or I like to work late at night and I'm going to take the whole afternoon off. You know, play with it. Try different things out. Here are some recommendations to put a family schedule together. And I definitely recommend a family schedule. You got to talk it all out together. So whether it's a couple, you and your partner, you and your spouse, or the whole family figuring out how to accommodate everyone. And then you make something visible that you can see, and that is put up in a conspicuous place, maybe the fridge, something like that. Here are some ideas. You can put who, what are they doing, where are they doing it, when are they doing it, and then do's and don'ts. These are kind of rules, family rules, or we're family agreements. We're going to agree to all of these things. So food, who's taking care of food, who's taking care of the meals, who's cleaning up, are there private areas, where are the private areas, where are the common areas, when are the common areas open, when are you going to agree to be done with work so that can become a common area, or when are you going to turn it over to your partner or turn it over to your child so that they can get on Zoom to take their classes for school. And then, you know, what about the space and what about the noise? The next thing, this is the single most helpful productivity tip that I have incorporated personally that has helped me be more productive in the last decade. And this is not for everybody, but I recommend you trying it. There's something called the Pomodoro technique, and Pomodoro is a type of tomato. It looks like a plum tomato, and it's named after these little timers, kitchen timers that are shaped like plum tomatoes and look exactly like plum tomatoes. So I have pretty much on my timer on my phone, always set for 30 minutes. I press go, and then I try to get some work done. I try to focus on something for 30 minutes. I sprint, and then I stop, and then I pause, and then I take a break. And it only works when I put the timer out of arm's reach. Now, if it's not out of arm's reach, if I'm focused on something, I will just reach over, turn it off, and keep going. So the idea is for you to stop and for you to get up and for you to move, to focus on recharging with fun or using energy, doing whatever it is you're going to do. It can be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes if you've done a great sprint and you want to do something, whatever it is for you. This is the way that we do work best. We do not do work best in assembly line. We do not work equally 8-hour days. We sprint and then we stop. And that is where we are most effective. So let's think about boundaries and setting limits, because this is going to be important for you when you're working from home. Put some limits on the phone and the computer, especially during deep work time and peak energy time. If you're in there, see if you can turn your notifications off on the phone. See if you can close your email program on your computer. Next step, turn Wi-Fi off on a computer so you're not tempted to check the news or check something else. And then airplane mode on the phone. This is peak productivity time if you can do all of these things. Even if you can only do it for 10 minutes in a day, even if you can only do it for a half hour in a day, even if you can only do it for 5 minutes, you're going to get some work done. That is important. And remember, it's results. It's not to-do lists. And then that's what you do outward facing, or not letting things in from the outside world. What do you do at home? You need a clear signal. You need, if you have a door, close it. If you don't have a door, maybe the signal is that you're putting your noise canceling headphones on, or just your little white earbuds, or whatever that might be, or a literal analog do not disturb sign up. Also, you can put blocks on that family calendar. So you can say 9 to 1 or 9 to 12 on Tuesdays, I'm getting work done. Or we always have our team meeting at 2 p.m. There is no way I can close the door if you can make sure you don't disturb me for that hour while we're doing the team meeting. Now here's a way for you to not work too long in the day. You're going to be tempted to work longer than you do at work. So you might have a rule for yourself: don't turn it on until a certain point in the morning. Conversely, and this is even more important because the number one challenge that people have working from home is how do I stop? How do I stop working and get back to home life? Have a rule that you turn it all off no later than fill in the blank. And that is computer off, or airplane mode on, or your work phone is totally off, whatever it might be. And then get it back to 8 if you possibly can, including lunch. And then take those breaks. Take whatever breaks you can during the day. If you took a break usually at work to move around, to get some coffee, to get a donut, or to get a bagel or something like that, do it at home too. And try the Pomodoro technique. Take a break every 30 minutes. Take lunches away from your work area. And this is a golden opportunity for you. So many people I talk to say they eat at their desk at work. You do not have to eat at your desk at work. Food is very easy, unless your desk, of course, is in your kitchen. Now, another limit that I implore you is think about your news and your social media. Curate your incoming. We are in an unprecedented time of change and challenge. And if you leave it totally open to hear every last horrible story or sad thing that's going on, it is going to take you away in the tsunami of it. Limit your news, especially at night, because you're going to remember you need to close down, you need to turn down, you need to start setting yourself down. Try a 5-minute per day limit for your news. And either way, if you're binging out on news in one day or something like that, notice if you feel happier and more energized after it. And notice if you don't. And then you have learned something. This is not, again, not a rule. This is just an idea. This is a tip for you. Try, okay, I'm going to curate my incoming. I'm only going to accept incoming emails today. I'm not going to accept Facebook. I'm not going to accept Google News, whatever it might be. Or I'm going to leave it wide open all day and all night and see if you feel happier and more energized. Now, the next thing is removing temptations from your home. So think about moving the junk food so it's not so easy to get to, moving the housework so it's not so visible, maybe even throwing a blanket over the flat screen TV so that you're not tempted to just turn it on while you're eating lunch. Close the door and put away work papers at the end of the day so that you are not tempted to also look at work. Mind the gap means in London, there's the Tube and Underground, and there's a sign that says mind the gap. And so what that means is there's a space. Be aware of the space. No commute means no gap. Your brain is a plane. It takes time to descend and to land and taxi. And every airport is a little different, but for example, Dallas or O'Hare in the United States, the taxiing, it feels like it's just about as long as the flight itself. So this is your brain. It does not just go from 100 to 0. It takes time. So we put gaps between family time and work and tasks and meetings, anything that requires brain power, put some kind of gap in. And most importantly, don't multitask your loved ones. Be there for them because they need you now more than ever. Here are some ideas for virtual connection with your team or your friends, but especially with your team. You may be feeling isolated. I'm just going to run through these. We're going to talk a little bit more about team connection and team meeting next week. Here's some things Video is always better than audio so that you can see people. Think about virtual coffee breaks. Reach out first. If you're feeling isolated and wondering where your teammates are, you move first. Then use Slack for chit chat, have a separate channel in there for something funny, anything that you want to add, or ideas with each other for these work from home challenges. So you could take something that I've said and put it right in there. Start a separate channel with your team. You could walk together virtually at lunch or break time, chatting on the phone. You could wonder what's going on with your coworker and their work home life and think about, hey, reach out, find out from them. You might even have open office hours via Zoom. So you don't have to set up a meeting. You can just turn Zoom on, give everybody the meeting number. And if other people show up, they show up. You can talk to each other, or you can just work side by side. Ask them for help and ask what help they need. We love to be of use. We love to be helpful. Make sure you have time for personal check-ins. You could do polls during the week. You can have a virtual lunch buddy. You could send different things to each other. You can ask how they're doing. You can ask about their pets, their family, virtual team lunch hour, virtual happy hour. And don't worry if you're writing any of these down, we'll be sending you out their resources after this. And regularly phone or FaceTime family members and old friends that live far away. And lastly, we're all in this together. We're all separate and we are all in this together. It's helpful to remember that and to reach out first. Now, health and wellness. These are just little ads for you to think about you taking care of you. We're going to go more deeply in 2 weeks. Number one is think about your circle of influence. Focus on what you can influence and let go of what you can't influence. You can't influence world events right now, but you can influence what you do every day, right here, right now. This is what you've got. You can focus on what you're eating and whether you're moving or not. And are you sleeping enough? Aim for 8 is the short tip for that. Are you getting outside? And I hear from people saying like, "Oh, I'm in California and we have the strictest law yet. We have shelter in place." It's shelter in place except for essential activities. And essential activities defined by the state of California is getting outside for exercise on your own. So as long as you're doing the protocol, being a safe distance away, et cetera, and you're by yourself, you're good wherever you are. And at least in the United States, I'm not certain about the rest of the world, but for the US, you're good. Get outside. And then lastly, give everybody love and appreciate what you have right now. And today, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? But today, each one of us on this call, we have food. We have a place to sleep tonight. And apparently we have internet because we're all on this. So here's a wrap up for you before I get to the questions. And some things to think of. Revisit that chosen challenge and opportunity that you thought about in the beginning. Pick a tactic for each. All the things that we said, there's all sorts of different things. And you can put it in chat if you want what that tactic is, because the reason that I'm thinking of is it helps to make these things public as often as you can, as soon as you can, to anybody you can, and you're more likely to actually do it, to take that tactic and try it with the challenge. And I invite you to play with your challenges and your opportunities. Experiment with them, learn, adjust, persist. Okay, so the next webinar, April 9th, virtual teaming, meetings, and more. We're going to focus mainly on meetings for that one. So mainly, and we're going to spend an extra long time with the tech. And the reason why is what I found is working with groups when offering this as a workshop is that we spend a ton of time on tech, talking about pros and cons of things and what works, what doesn't. So I'll lay out some of the things that I think will be helpful, and then we'll get going from there. So if anyone has any questions, I will take a look now at the chat and see if anybody has a question now. Is it too early for a beer? Not for you because you're in Germany. It's even 7 p.m. What's Royal Caribbean? Royal Caribbean is a cruise line that has offices that I've worked with in Florida. I can't get away from my computer. I hear you. That is a classic challenge. Too many distractions. Biggest challenge is separating work and working after hours. So it's helpful to know what all these challenges are. Do you recommend any app for the Pomodoro timer? So I'm sure there's an app, but here's my phone, and I will go to the clock thing down there, and I'm on the alarm now, and then I'm going all the way over to the right to the timer, and it is set for 30 minutes. And I press start, and here it goes. And then you don't have to see it all the time because that's a little distressing because you're feeling of doomsday. So I'll just turn it off like that. And if I want to check it, I can just do this, and it will tell me underneath the time how much time is left. Any tips for setting up a personal space for work? So definitely make sure you have some kind of separation, if you will. So if you have a separate room, that's great. If you can close a door, that's wonderful. If it is a desk somewhere, that is wonderful too. Someplace that ideally you have things left out, and then you can, so put things away as you go. You also may want to make like a little lunchbox of your tools that you need in case you do move around at work. So you've got your highlighter, you got your pens, you've got your notepad, you've got your stickies, whatever you might need, so that it moves around with you when you're setting up your personal space for work. Oh, that's great. Here's a tip for that. I ask Alexa to set up a 45-minute timer to remind me to hydrate and move. Wonderful. So we are a little past 1:30. If anyone wants to head out, that's great. And happy to stay on for another moment or two if anybody has anything else you want to add in chat. So one of the chat questions, I'm not certain if everybody can see the chat questions. If we have any questions, can we email? Absolutely, Margarita. Thanks, everybody. You are very welcome. Great to see so many people there. Oh, good question. I had forgotten to ask. Will you be sending this presentation to us? And yes, what we're going to be doing is we're going to send you, I don't recommend, I'll talk to you a little bit about sending PowerPoint, not sending PowerPoint for team meetings. So we're going to model that. We're going to do is we're going to send you an overview of all of the material that's in the PowerPoint. So you get that, and then we're going to post the webinar. So for those people, if you want to share it with your coworkers, anything, or anybody that you care about that is working from home, we'll send you the link to that, and then you can spread that around and help other people. Oh, and so Margaret had a question about email. We may talk a little bit about email in the team meetings, Margarita, but if you have a specific question about email, feel free. You can put it on here, or just shoot me an email about it. Oh, I understand. Sorry. What is my email? So info@QC at Quixote Consulting will get to me .com, or rob@QuixoteConsulting.com. And Quixote is spelled Quixote Consulting. Oh, you're very welcome, everybody. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll head on with our day to this brave new world. I hope you work from home wonderfully and effectively, and take care of yourselves and take care of each other and take care of your families. And send lots of love to all of you. And we'll see you in a week. See you on April 9th, same time.